Hello, this is Dale Matthews, and welcome to Inside News. This is a very important show, and so joining us is Mike Jones. He's here for the important shows.
Right. And yes, what Dale said is very important. We're going to show you a clip of the candidates event, and tonight is Dale Matthews. But hold on through that, and because you cannot miss what's coming up. This is sort of an emergency situation. It's an emergency. We have one of those now. So,
okay, so let's start off with Dale Matthews.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm Dale Matthews. It doesn't have a speaker attached to it.
All right, crank up the volume. Just as he'll get louder.
First of all, do we have a problem? I think most of you would agree that there is some kind of problem with county government right now. One of the problems is the motto of the county commissioners: I know we're breaking the law and I don't care. I don't like that. It's important to note there seem to be, at this moment, only 4 candidates that are saying that they will unconditionally not back increased property taxes. There's 4 of them. One of them is Ron Smith. Another one's Mark Seligman. Another one is Raymond Smith, and I'm the 4th. My motto is no new taxes for 4 years. I will oppose any new taxes for 4 years, any new property taxes. After that time, we can look at it, but we need to regain the trust of the people after I know we're breaking the law and I don't care. We have to regain their trust. The other thing is, we've got a lot of people here who are supporters of the Constitution. Our local Constitution is our home rule charter. And the home rule charter says, as a commissioner, you're not supposed to take any more than $30,000 a year. Well, but the state says we must. No, the state doesn't say that you have to. What you can do is you can keep the $30,000 and donate the rest of it to charity. That's what I'm going to do. Oh, but you'll have to pay extra taxes. That's the job. And if you don't want to follow the charter, why are you running for office? This is our local constitution. I'm going to back it, all parts of it. Now, if it needs to be changed, please, not during this administration. But if it needs to be changed, fine, we can do that. But as far as I'm concerned, that is the rule. So that's all that I'll take. We've had a number of people who say, well, I don't like the way the number of votes have gone. Well, I live in America, and I think that we need to go by the votes of the people. And they've answered, not, as the Courier says, 2 times in 2 years or half a time in half a year. It's been 9 times since the year 2000. And if you count 1998, it was another time. And the people have said, yes, they said, there was a ballot advisory question. Do you think that there's enough services in law enforcement? No. What it should have said is, are you willing to pay for more? Because the citizens have said again and again and again, no, we're not going to do that. So at what point do you listen to the people and respect their vote? I mean, we're either Americans in this room or we're not. You're either Republicans or you're not. Tax and spend Republicans, I've never seen such a thing. So the point is, let me be more specific. There are people who are saying, well, those pesky voters, they won't vote for better child services. They would rather put their money on pets. Yes, that's what they voted. Well, I don't like that, but that's what they voted. Well, they shouldn't feel that way, but that's what they voted. So at what point do you say, you know what, I may not respect everything they say, but they voted. I haven't had a single person yet that would say, well, I'm not going to, really? Well, I'm not going to do it. They shouldn't. Really? That's what they said. They said it crystal clear. Nobody of the commissioners is now saying, well, the people don't seem to understand. They're not saying that they don't understand anymore. They know that the people do understand, and they've made it very clear what they want and what they don't want. They've done that cost-benefit analysis, and they said, you know what? This is not what we want to do. Now, are you going to respect that, or are you not going to respect that? You're going to keep bringing them new taxes, different shades of taxes. There's 4 little taxes, there's 5 big taxes. Why are you doing that? They've told you what they want. So what's the solution to that? Number one is, are we really in an emergency? I go to every meeting. I go to more meetings than the county commissioners do of their own meetings. I do. I have been since the year 2000 at more county commissioners meetings than everybody in this room combined. I know what they're doing. And when I see these things happening, I say, now, wait a minute. Why is it, if we're in a state of emergency, why doesn't every meeting start with what the emergency situation is? Every meeting should start that way, shouldn't it? The last time that we saw the head of the police, the sheriff, he went to the commissioners to ask for more fuel-efficient cars. This is not something you should do in a state of emergency. I understand, you know, it's another time for another levy, and every time the levy comes up, we talk about emergencies again. But is that really what's happening? I mean, when we heard that the OSP was running the wheels off their car and we're using more than anybody else, of course, with Bill Hunker's help, we talked with the OSP. They said, that's not true. Now, wait a minute. We just heard a speech where one of the commissioners was saying, it's going up like this, they use it. No, it's not. I'm amazed. It's actually slightly the other direction. Well, okay, is it really an emergency? Let's suppose that it's an emergency. Let's take that for granted. Now, we get this economic development money in. Economic development money can be spent on all kinds of things. The commissioners have said it could be spent on anything basically that they want. Okay, then, let's take the economic development money because they've said, oh, we're not developing it economically here because of our terrible law enforcement situation. Then spend economic development on helping the sheriff. Isn't that what it's for? We've got road dollars. Well, you can't do it now because emergency road striping might need to be done. So you take all of that money for the emergency road striping or a dam that may, erupt or something, and you put it into an emergency fund. It's available to both the road department and to the sheriff. And when the biggest emergency comes up, the person who wins 2 falls out of 3 gets the money. They keep us informed about what's happening. Every meeting should start with, as we did at this meeting here, see what you think about this. It should start with an invocation, shouldn't it? Don't we need all the help that we can get? Don't we need them on our side? Every single meeting should start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, it's repetitive. No, it's not repetitive to me. And all of those meetings should be televised. Every one of the meetings should be in the Ann Basker Auditorium so everybody can see it. We do television stuff because there's no advertising. We want to keep you informed. We want to tell you what's happening. Imagine somebody like me that's been to all these meetings. I can hit the ground running. I mean, it's not going to take 6 months, 9 months to learn it. I know what happened yesterday. I know what happened today. I know what's going to happen tomorrow. Can you have one commissioner that already knows what's going on? Just one.
Okay, we're there, Dale.
I'm certainly there. So.
Thank you. So, tonight's news.
Which feeds right into the topic of this evening, really.
It does. We didn't know, and we had postponed another show we were going to do about city priorities. This is more important. It happened this morning, where the county commissioners got to see a letter that's written by Cheryl Walker to send to the governor to try to get her to declare a state of emergency here in Josephine County. Now, right away, let's do it. Let's pull the trigger, as Simon Hare says. And one of the things Simon Hare said about the law enforcement situation in our county is, this is just chaos. That's what they think. They believe that they can't win a free and fair vote. This is America. They don't like that, in my opinion. And so they're going to bypass the whole voting process. They're up to here. They've had it up to here with free and fair votes in America. They're going to force this on us. And a number of people are going to show up tomorrow morning, Wednesday morning, I know, 9 o'clock in the morning at the Ann Basker, and warn them. Now look, and don't make any threats, but I would say to them, you think that your little tootsies are toasted now. You wait till you sell out the county to the governor. You wait till you turn over our sovereignty to the governor of the state, your reputation will be earned by you, and you will be infamous forevermore. You think that you have any shred of legacy left attached to you somehow, maybe on the back? That's all going to be gone, because no one will ever forget you betraying us and giving away control of our county to someone else just so that you can force a tax on us. Mike?
Yeah, I'm down with that. I'm just flabbergasted. Listen, we're getting the same false claims. These are false claims. These are blatantly false claims. The people that are putting these statistics together know that they're false. Last year at the Republican Party meeting that we went to, presentations were done there. One was done by Hare and friend, and then they had the sheriff there, and they were talking about how crime is up 850% in the IV. That actually doesn't pan out here in terms of, I mean, when we get the crime numbers here, this is not going to reflect that. 850%. Oh my God. There may be an elevated crime in that one particular area, and probably because they're recording it in a different way or something now than they did before. But now they're trying to give us this 500%. Well, you know what? If it's up 500%, then it's down 300% from last year. Or is it up 500% from the 850% it was up last year? Come on, people. How stupid do you think we are? You're making this stuff up. And you know what? If you ever get busted, you're going to jail. You're falsifying records. You're making up stories. Who do you think you are? This is amazing that we're getting this sort of thing out of our elected officials and our sheriff. Sheriff, you're responsible for this. You're the one who was putting forth these lies. So back it up. You better back it up. And when the OSP comes out with their numbers and they don't substantiate what you said, you're in trouble, buddy. Somebody needs to follow this back up all the way back to the beginning and point out who the liar is.
Well, let's go back to the beginning with the city council and what they had said about how if the county commissioners that are currently in don't do this, then nobody will. Here's what they had to say when the commissioners were there for a joint meeting with the Grants Pass City Council.
If I can be as clear as I can, that if something doesn't happen before the end of your term or the term that you're in, the new commissioners or you two that are still commissioners, I don't know how it's going to work out, won't be able to fix it. And so it has to be fixed before then. So I would suggest you put something on the ballot, even if it's not the best option. We need to have something to vote on.
Mike?
Right. And this is back where he's basically imploring Cheryl Walker to save us from the scourge of the people who have tight wallets. And I'm sure there's more that I don't know. Do you have more of what took place there in the queue there, Dale?
I just had more of her saying that people will often say it's government for the people, by the people, well, then they're just going to have to put up more money. And they have the choice of $1.50 levy, $1.60 levy, $1.70 levy, a $2 levy. All of her answers were centering around something we've already said we don't want.
Yeah, well, I mean, the pretense here is that they're doing this for us, but they hate us. They have made that very, very clear. The city council has complete contempt for the people that live in the city that voted the sales tax down. Cheryl Walker has complete contempt. Listen, if you listen to the audio, and we're gonna see some of the video here, but if you listen to the audio of what took place at today's meeting, they're sitting around commiserating about how stupid the people are and how bad they are and what do they expect. They're not paying their fair share here. So I mean, listen, either you care enough about this to show up and have something to say about it or not. Do a little bit of your homework. We're going to help you with that here tonight. And so that you have an understanding of what's going on here. These people want money. Why do you think Jay Meredith cares so much about what goes on with the county? Is he worried that the jail is going to close? Maybe so. But you know, they're paying for a lot of their own jail bed space with their you know, the sewer, water and sewer bill thing there, and that seems like it's going to continue, and they even want to raise that. Are we going to be shutting the jail down? A lot of this, you know, hysteria is contingent upon whether or not SRS continues or not. They keep telling us it won't continue. Well, that depends on who you talk to. So anyway, hopefully by the end of this evening, you'll be better educated on how to go forward with this, and hopefully we get some help from you guys watching the show.
Oh, and by the way, you can certainly look forward to seeing this on KJO. Oh, yes, of course. On the TV stations. Oh, it'll be in the Courier. Or is this the only place where you can see the commissioners talking about this?
Well, you know what? I posted sort of a promo for tonight's show on a number of pages on Facebook, and one guy saying, yeah, well, it's about time. You know, we need to have this happen. And I asked him, I go, you know, against the will of the people? Oh yeah. You know, it's their primary responsibility to, you know, protect us or whatever. And I thought, wow, even though we've shown very clearly that we don't want them coming in here, we don't want higher taxation. Listen, it's very, very clear what's going to happen. If the state does come in here, you don't think you're going to pay for it? You're going to pay for it. You know, there is no such thing as a free lunch. There's no free money on this situation here. You're going to pay for it.
Well, the commissioners are tired of voting. They're tired of you voting, and they're not going to put up with you voting anymore. Here's what they said in the little back room today.
Okay. All right. Last Wednesday, I was quite surprised at the meeting when both of you said you didn't want to put the advisory question on the public safety issue, 753, out there.
On the May ballot.
On the May ballot. And the statement was that didn't think the issue was right. There's only one session left. We can do this because the legislation expires January 2nd, 2018. So the only session this can be dealt with is the one that of January 2017. And so I drafted a letter that I would like for us to send to the governor because, number one, we don't have to have any resolutions or any, in fact, any one person can ask the governor to
really?
See if it would be necessary to declare it, which I thought was an interesting concept for a bill that doesn't say, you know, it leaves it that anybody can initiate it. So for us to determine if this would be something that we could even use is going to take time because the governor would have to talk to various officials at the legislature, and then they would have to write it to put in the governor's funding bill before the session next year. So I think we need to do this to find out if it is something we want to do. So I've written this, this draft. I mean, it's subject to all kinds of modifications or amending, but I think it's necessary. And I would just like to ask that if you would do this without it even having to go for an advisory question, because it doesn't sound, it's not required.
It's also not required that the board make a determination.
That's right, we don't have to make a determination, we can request the governor to look at it.
We don't have to request anything.
And,
The governor can do this.
but the governor won't do it. The governor will not step into county business without someone asking the governor to do that. That would be an imposition that I don't think the governor would do.
But I don't have any.
Sounds like a good reason not to ask to me.
Reading it over, thinking about it. Getting my mind to go the right direction, because there's a lot of permutations on this too that we don't really understand. I don't understand.
Yeah. Okay, so now this was remember it was supposed to be an advisory question? Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just going to say, apparently the only one, still carrying about whether or not he gets elected in that room is Keith Heck.
I think that they realize they're not going to get elected, that this is a desperation move. They've got nothing left to lose. They might as well just go for the wall. And I seem to be frozen.
But why?
I don't know why. That's the vagaries of the internet.
Yeah, no, I was not talking about you being frozen.
I know.
You may have to kill your. Okay, all right. What is in it for them to do this situation? I mean, really, if they're going to get bounced out of office, why would they want to do this? Is it just they paid one off to their friends because their friends inside government want this? The people inside government, they'll take the more funding. They don't care. They don't care from where it comes.
Well, I think it's legacy. Simon Hare had said when he was first elected, just before he was elected, I want to be the first commissioner to pass a levy here since the year 2000. I think that these guys, this is a poison pill. They're angry with the citizens. They've made that clear. You can see it in this video. You can hear it in this video, but you can see it by just the look on their face during a lot of the meetings that we've had. You've seen it here. All of you have seen this. They're angry. The city council is angry. You are not doing what you're told by the politicians, and they're going to jam this down your throat. By gosh, you're going to do this, and they're going to force you to do it. Doesn't Cheryl Walker remind you of the grandma that says you're going to eat those stewed tomatoes? I don't care what.
Yeah, but there's a difference. The stewed tomatoes might actually be good for you. I don't see this as being a good thing at all. Already we have a sort of a sovereignty issue here to begin with all these targeted funds and requirements, mandates from the state whenever we take their money, or the federal government whenever we take their money. We have to jump through certain hoops and implement certain policy in order to have that. And that is just exactly what's going to be happening here. We're going to have more and more and more of that. And if that's what you want, then I guess this is your ship has come in. But you know what? What's very interesting is during the candidates event afterwards, when there was question and answer going back and forth, Dan DeYoung alluded to this idea that, well, what about the 47% who voted for it? What do they get? They're still getting the shaft. They don't get the law enforcement resources that they wanted to have. Well, as he so aptly pointed out afterwards, those same people didn't write a check to the sheriff to help him out to help fund the services that they wanted, even though. But the bottom line is, and Cheryl commented on that during this meeting too. Like, these people that voted for this, what are they getting? They're not getting theirs. Well, you know what? In this society, unless we're going to flip it over to, whoever gets the least votes, there's the winner. If that's the way we're going to go, then some constitution rewriting is going to happen around here somewhere.
Well, what if there are Americans that are just tired of the American way of doing things, and since they can't win, they're going to force it on us? That's not the America I grew up in. And listen, Mike's right. If there are a number of people, in fact, maybe even a majority of of the minority who vote for this, who have said, well, I'd pay twice as much. There's your opportunity, you guys. Pay twice as much. And because you're approximately half of the county, then it would get you everything you wanted. And then you're doing what you want. The other people are doing what they want. Everybody's a winner, right? No. They want you to pay.
Right. They do want you to pay. And they want to force this stuff upon you. Listen, this forcing stuff upon people, it really appeals to a certain portion of the population. And it's probably more of the people who voted for the levy than the ones who vote against it that it appeals to. Now, this idea that it's their responsibility to protect us from what? Okay, they haven't substantiated that there's any sort of crime crisis. I think we had that pretty well laid out here the other night, that it's very, very clear that crime is half of what it was 10 years ago when they had full funding. So, you want to make a claim that that's because not as many people are calling in, or most of the people are not calling in crimes that take place. You can't substantiate that. You have a feeling about that, but you can't substantiate that with any sort of, factual numbers. You don't have any of that. It's just a feeling. It's just an anecdote. Like in this meeting, they talk about things, specific crimes that took place. Oh my God, somebody's truck got stolen. Oh, that is horrible. It is horrible, but it isn't a statistic. It's an anecdote.
When we talked with the sheriff, one of the things he said was, well, I have a gut feeling that the crime is increasing. Your Honor, I would like you to convict this man because I have a gut feeling that he is guilty. Yes, and when we said to him, if you provide the numbers, that's going to increase your credibility. And he just laughed at us.
Yeah. Well, they're attempting to provide numbers. These phony numbers coming out of the IV, this 500% that they were, theoretically that, crime is up, provided by the sheriff. You know what? If that doesn't come out, if that doesn't, it isn't reflected somehow in the OSP's numbers, which we're about to get, then you got problems. You're going to have to tell us why you've got these massive numbers coming out of the IV and yet crime's not up in the county. What is that about?
Well, here's a number
tell us.
Here's a number that we know is correct. When you look at Cave Junction business area is a couple of blocks, right? 3 blocks, 4 blocks. And we know that the boundary of Cave Junction is 2 square miles. This is a matter of record. All right. They have 1 contract deputy. They're paying for that contract deputy, which you could do in your community. They're paying for that contract deputy, saying, you pay attention to these 2 square miles. That's 1 deputy for those 2 square miles. Very careful on how I'm saying this. In order to equal that in our county, you need 820 deputies. That's the math. Now, until we get 820 deputies, we're not even going to get the bad policing that they've got in Cave Junction. Very much like they had a meeting earlier today where they were talking about what to do in case of an earthquake. Okay. And you're going to be on your own. They said, well, maybe for 2 or even 3 months. Brother, we're on our own now. And so what you probably should consider, and you know this if you live in the IV, come on now, or Merlin, you know that if you call in, they're just going to come by, sooner or later. And it's always been this way, even with full funding, okay?
Yes.
And so you look back at 2000, they actually, they put up a levy then. They put up a levy then, and here's some stats from Mike. So look, if it's true that you're getting the same kind of, and look at the crimes, and this is based on the official statistics. So the point is, if you want to have the same kind of coverage, which is not enough, that they have there, you're really on your own. So just treat it like, in my opinion, treat it very much like if there was an earthquake, you're going to have to provide your own water, your own protection. You're going to have to take care of your neighborhood. And what's happening all over the county is you see people coming together. It's happening in Mike's neighborhood. They're coming together into groups to take care of each other because even with full funding, the police are not coming.
Yeah.
And we cannot trust these guys who are willing to sell us out. This is betrayal. This is betraying everything that this county is about. Please come tomorrow morning. You haven't been to a meeting. Some of you not been to a meeting. Come tomorrow morning to the Ann Basker Auditorium. I know some of you may have to take time off of work or whatever. Please come at 9 a.m. and tell the commissioners, don't threaten them. Don't do that. But say to them, your legacy is going to be mud if you do this. You think you've got it tough now. You have no idea. Well, let's hear more of what they had to say. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, but before you say that, their legacy will be mud with the people. But you know what? They don't care about the people. They care about their friends inside government, and their legacy will be golden. And that's what they're shooting
They
at.
made that clear several times. They have. We're not making that up. We're not exaggerating. They have made that clear several times.
So let's say if Simon Hare, let's say, wants to go to statewide office or national office, how's he going to do that? Is he going to bring out the people to vouch for him that worked with him? In the courthouse there or city hall, those people are those going to be the people that they hear about? No, they're going to see thousands of videos on YouTube that show this guy doing all kinds of stuff against the people, including this one. This is a crowning jewel here. Really, what you said today that we're all going to see here in a few minutes. This is your legacy going forward, Simon. That you don't care about the people. You want to make up statistics. You want to believe stories. You want to make up your own stories. You want to have your own anecdotes. You want to have your own perceptions. And then you want to make policy on those. And then you want to go somewhere else and get hired by other people. We're going to follow you. Or we won't have to follow you. The videos will, and it'll be your reputation.
And in looking at the statistics in regards to what's happened, crime has gone up over 500% in the Illinois Valley in the last 3 years, 3 or 4 years. I mean, that's just unacceptable. And, and you take any given neighborhood and talk to people and, they have petty thefts all the time, but they don't report them. I mean, in my own neighborhood too. And just last week we had, 2 reported thefts and an arson, and none of that is going to be resolved because there's no detectives, there's no way to resolve it. Now the fire will go to the state fire marshal, but.
Who will add to his stack?
Pardon?
Who will add it to his stack?
Right, and it has become the norm out there where I hear people say, well, that's just the way it's going to be. I might as well just, accept that people are going to be stealing things. What's happening is, personal notes here is that we have people living on BLM land up behind the properties there where we live, and whatever they need, they take.
This is her perception.
Ropes? Do they need gasoline? Do they need?
Well, why are we allowing people to live there on the BLM land? What are these, homeless people or something?
Yeah.
And those are little crimes.
No, come on.
No one is going to be called. They know no one's going to prosecute them. Nobody's going to do anything about it. And we just heard Nate here the other day talking about the problem in regards to having sanctions for people, even just work crews, because they have to be supervised. They have to be organized. And if you don't have that, if you don't have the money to do that, you're not going to have those sanctions. And,
hey, Dale.
Yes, sir. Just a moment. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
She said 500% over 3 years, over the last 3 years. We already know about 2014. The crime is down in the county in 2014. Or it's even Steven. Here's the numbers here. This is crimes per 1,000 of population in the county, 25.
Where'd these numbers come from, Mike?
These came from the OSP. And these are the
They've
tabulation of
quoted
all statewide numbers for all cities and all counties. All municipalities are recorded, and then Bill Hunker takes the raw data and lays it out like this. We have this is the county-wide crime statistics. Look at 2004, 2005, 53, and here we got less than half last year. And this 2014, that's part of the 3 years of 500% that she's talking about. And we're about to get 2015's numbers, so we'll be able to tack that on the end. And so somebody's making something up here.
It was the sheriff that had a press conference and said that the numbers that we were putting out, that Bill Hunker was supplying, were all myths. And just you wait till 2014 numbers come out. Why, that'll prove it. It's through the roof. Well, there's your 2014 numbers, everybody.
Yeah, doesn't show nothing. Nothing.
I am pressed to the answer that they're just simply lying to us. And why would they do that?
Because they want the money for other things. They have unfunded liabilities that go out. I mean, they grow. They keep growing as we go out. Listen, we are slaves to an unsustainable economic system with the funding of local government or even government, state or federal. It's an unsustainable, unfunded liability system that ultimately is going to crash and burn. But the people who are inside of it, they have a vested interest in remaining, keeping it going as long as possible, because when they they're getting a certain amount vested every year, they want that money. They want that money to be there, so they need to pull in new sources all the time. So they're clearly not above lying about it.
Well,
if
so
you're
what I'm
lying,
going to
prove it.
So what I'm going to say to them tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock in the Ann Basker Auditorium is, you think you've got a bad reputation now, or the people are all over you now. Do you remember Don Reedy? Don Reedy was the guy that came in and he said, well, since you're appointing me as a commissioner, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be the most transparent commissioner you've ever seen. His second day in office, he said, it's none of your business what we do as commissioners. And this was the guy that said to the senator when he came in over in Cape Junction, when he came in, he said, would you please stop telling people that we're going to get more funding, which every year they say we're not going to get. It's really the cliff now. Now it's really, 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 really the cliff. And he said, stop saying that we're going to get that funding because we can't pass a levy if you say that. That was Don Reedy. That guy got tossed out like a used Kleenex with the worst vote total for an incumbent in the history of Josephine County. These guys are going to top that if they sell us out to the state. And Cheryl is completely ready to do that. Your targets are not, Cheryl Walker, give me a break. Your targets are Simon Hare and Keith Eck.
Yeah, that's right. Because it doesn't matter what you say, Cheryl. I mean, there could be 5,000 people show up there tomorrow. Cheryl Walker would still do this because that's just the type of person that she is. She's ideologically driven, and that's the vein that she's in. But if they can substantiate these claims that they're making, bring it on.
If they could, they would.
Yes, but here's the problem: is they lie, and we know that they've lied about so many things now that we cannot trust them about almost anything. And so when they
here's Cheryl Walker in a past meeting. Well, I'm reading from the rules; they're right here. I've written them down, and it says this, this, and this, and this, and here's where to find it. Well, guess what? We went to go find it, and it wasn't there. It was the proper location, but that's not what it said at all. She is not remember when I got up and I was talking about firefighters? Well, Mr. Matthews just told you that all firefighters are pedophiles. What? She is not beyond anything. Mike?
Well, and some of you may have seen on Channel 10 the other night, we played that on our show. You had Kate Lasky on there talking about the story is supposed to be about the break-in that happened at the library. Some people went in there and they vandalized a lot of stuff in the library. But what you get her saying is that there's one reason why we're having this. It's because we don't have sustainable funding for law enforcement or something along those lines. And, you know, this is the same person who I know is a liar and will frame somebody and will, you know, what's the right way of putting it? It's a spoken word liability thing I'm looking for here. But anyway, I mean, she essentially said slander that Dale Matthews went into the library and was watching porn in there and masturbating, and that you know, this is what she was implying by what she said, and she's snickering while she's saying it. They knew that that's not true. They knew the reason why he did it, because he explained it, and Judy Aarons explained it, why Dale was going over to the library and why he was doing what he was doing, and he simply came back with a report that you would think that the library people would be happy to have so that they could take action to fix it. No, what do they want to do? Kill the messenger.
Well, thank you very much, Mike Jones. Here's the additional 30 seconds.
Quickly, because to me, there's a crisis. We're beyond crisis. I mean, this law, this 3453, would never have been written and adopted, but for the fact there was an imminent crisis at that point. Mm-hmm. And we've passed that stage now by 3 years. So I think it's time that we request the governor to look at the parameters, tell us what could be done, see if anything could be done, and then consider it.
Now, we're beyond crisis. Take a look at what Simon has in his hands. He is looking at the letter that Cheryl wrote for them to agree to. And they are not going to talk about this tomorrow unless you guys bring it up. Unless the audience brings it up. It's not on the agenda. It wasn't on this agenda. They're supposed to say when they're considering something they didn't want to, and they're not going to. So they're going to bring it up. Guess when they're going to bring it up again? Their next Thursday meeting, which no one will be allowed to talk, and then they're going to make a vote in that meeting. Now, that document that Simon is holding there, of course, you know me. I went straight on over and I said, I would like to have a copy of the document that she handed out to the commissioners. Well, they made a new rule this morning. And the new rule is they're not going to hand out documents to people to ask for them, even though it's state law. I'm going to have to go to Wally Hicks. Oh, there was a non-starter who's going to have to look through it and determine, let's see, maybe we can't release this to the public. This may take some time, you know, because he's going to have to go through it and make sure there's nothing in there that's secret. What? That's the new rule. They decided that by coincidence this morning. So remember when Simon Hare said back a couple of years ago that this was probably the most transparent government in the entire world?
Yes.
Okay. How lovely.
Well, you know, listen, if you want to know, I mean, if you're bewildered by, you know, Donald Trump and why Donald Trump is doing it. Now, I'm not a Donald Trump fan. I'm not one of his voters. But I totally understand what's making that happen, is that people are frustrated with government. People are very, very frustrated with people in government. They believe that people who said that they were going to change things in government, they call them conservatives. I don't think those are actual conservatives, but they don't want them either because they feel that they've been lied to by them, so they're going to this other guy. But the whole point is they want to circumvent government because they know government is screwing them, and they don't want any more of it. And listen, here, case in point, this is what's going on. They're going to sell us down the river. You
Now,
know?
I spoke with SORA yesterday, Southern Oregon Resource Alliance. I went there even though there were only 8 people there, and half of them were folks like Harry Mackin, who was the fellow the commissioners say was writing blank checks on the behalf of the county, and Jim Dittmer. The fellow is primarily responsible for not having Simon Hare recalled the first time they did bad things. People like that, lovely. But I spoke with them anyway, and so I set aside the normal things I said, and what I said to them, based on what Mike was just saying, is you were all backing probably one of the Republican candidates. Yeah, yes. And I said, just pick the one that you like best, unless it's Ben Carson, and say, is this person being easy to get along with these days? Probably not, right? Is this person being somewhat strident in what they're saying and trying to alert people and trying to set themselves apart from others? Well, yeah, probably. Now, you can say about Mike and me and this show, well, you guys are so confrontational. It's time for that. That's what we're going to have if we're going to clean this up. With this kind of stuff happening, you better have somebody that's out there rock'em sock'em robots kind of guys that are going to try to do something about this. You often don't go to these meetings. I know you guys. Of course you don't. And the only thing I can say to you that would be a salvation for not coming tomorrow morning would be if you elect whoever they are, 2 fiscal conservatives, they can come in and say to the governor after this goes through, because Cheryl's already told the governor it's an emergency. She's just trying to get the others. And you heard her say she doesn't even need them. Really? That's a brand new rule. Where'd she just make that up from? And so if this thing happens, the only way to turn it around is for when the new commissioners come in to say, you know what, governor, stuff this. We don't want this. Now arrest us, okay? But we're not taking it. Get out. Because we would they would represent you, not this imperial elite. The people who don't like the voting process. They don't like the voting process? We've seen that. Mike and I have seen that at a meeting of a rather numerous political party in this area, where when those guys lost the vote, they were like, well, nobody understood and this is illegal. No, it wasn't. Well, they just don't understand. No, that's not true. Well, I'm going to withdraw funding. Hey, are you an American?
Well, that was a very small minority of that.
It was.
Party. But nonetheless, I mean, it did take place, and you did have the funny thing is these people who want to circumvent the people they're very vocal. They're squealers. They make a lot of noise. You know, and you'd think that by all the noise that they were making, that they're the majority. They're not the majority. These people are a bunch of squealing whiners, and they need to be defeated and move on. And I'll tell you what, this idea of ruling against, they know darn well that, number one, that the premise for this is false. They know that. That they also know that the people don't want this, and neither of those facts make any impression on them at all. Their desire is to force this down your throat, and it's for the benefit of the inside government clique. That's all it is. So, you know, if you're a Trumper, if you're a cruiser, if you're a Bernie Sanders fan, you're an outside government person. You want change. You want the people to actually be in charge. So I say here's an opportunity for you to voice that to these people, these arrogant people who want to shove, you know, they want to can our sovereignty and shove the will of Salem down our throat.
They're arguing for the same thing they warned us about. If you don't vote for the levy the last time,
right,
why the governor may come down here. And now they're advocating for that. Let me put it more bluntly. I usually don't say like this, but you are a person that says the Pledge of Allegiance. You're in the audience. Of course you do. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, you believe that. You don't have to go stand up in North Korea and say that in front of those guys. This is happening tomorrow morning here. If you believe that people ought to have a chance to vote and be heard and not be run over by Cheryl Walker and Keith Heck and Simon Hare and sold out to the governor who's going to come down here and impose state rules on top of us, tomorrow morning, all the cool kids are going to be at the Ann Basker Auditorium saying, hey, what country do you think you live in? These are our votes, even if we're knuckleheads. And let's say that we are. We're the voters.
That's right.
You're supposed to be public servants.
Right. We don't have to we don't have to further rationalize our desire. We won. We've been winning for 20 years here. And we don't want you to do this. I mean, part of the reason why we don't want to give government more money is we're sick and tired of the influence of government in our lives. We want less of it, not more of it. And so we've decided we're going to give it less of our money. So why don't you follow our lead and cut back, suck in the tentacles a little bit, and jettison a few paper pushers that are not needed, and let's tighten things up here. Take some more of this money that you can give to the sheriff and give it to the sheriff, and let's have the guy on duty down there in Cave Junction like he's supposed to. And why don't you get some of these retired cops at the lesser price and put some of those in Cave Junction too? And if you want to sprinkle some in the schools or whatever you want to do, that's fine. But let's stop messing around here. Do you think that we really cannot do this ourselves? I think we can. I'm sick and tired of people telling us that our county is a crime-ridden war zone when it's clearly not. Why do we want to listen to these people? We can do this.
And here's what Simon Hare says in summing up the situation in the streets. You see, cats and dogs are living together. Blood is running in the streets. Volcanoes are erupting. Here's what Simon Hare has to say in summing up our situation here in Josephine County.
This is just chaos. It's social, like you talked about. There's no
that's what
social order
it's affecting
here.
the social structure of the county at this point.
And while this guy is getting talked to by the police, they ask, so who's back up at your shop? He says, nobody. So they hightail it back up there. There's a whole new group of people that are hauling stuff off of his property. They don't care. There are no ramifications.
Sure, it's
they're in
Mogadishu.
jail now. Who knows how long they'll stay there. They just keep coming back until there's nothing left. They're like a tick on a dog. And they just go to the next place,
That's what's happening. And the thing is that people say they don't want to pay more taxes, and this has nothing to do with this bill, but
those horrible people of the county, the majority.
Going to be paying for all the damage and loss of the schools that keep getting burglarized and vandalized, and the libraries keep getting burglarized.
The libraries keep getting burglarized?
Everybody has deductibles.
Over and over and over.
They do? They do? Plural?
The insurance company cancels you. We're paying for it, one way or another. We're all paying for it. And, my personal insurance at my home has gone up like double.
So
we're all going to be paying for it in the long run.
I bet she's lying about it.
Right. And the thing is that right now, we hear of all these thefts that are going on, burglaries that are going on, and there have been some armed robberies. Yeah. There have been some armed robberies. It is just a matter of time that someone's going to get killed more than someone won. Our murder rate's already up. So, to me, one of the charges we have is, health, safety, and welfare of our citizens. Well, it's not happening. And I'm just to the point that something has to be done. And, the citizens of Josephine County have, voted down 4 levies in the last
That's right.
years or 4 years. And I have a lot of people saying we need to ask the governor what it is that can be done. And like I said, as you have said, this is mostly a matching funds that we need to negotiate. We need to look at the contract. It's a matching funds. We need to look at the contract, negotiate with the governor, and see if we can get something favorable. We don't have to pay it back.
I just hate taking money from, that premise, the social
Okay,
I
so,
mean, we've just been on secure rural schools for 12 years.
It's just a
Now we're gonna
contract.
go 14 years, and then we're gonna go to handouts from the state. I don't know, it's not the kind of county I wanna live in, it's just,
well, no, it's
Come
not the
on.
kind of place
have
anybody
to
wants to
figure
live
out
in. In fact,
something.
I have had several friends move away from here.
Yeah.
One just last week, I go to church with, they left here for that very reason. That's why they left. I had two more call me, and these are people that are educated, teaching,
Yep.
whatever, they're finding jobs and leaving. And it, you know, to me, that is a very sad statement. And one of them said, why is it that, you get 51% of the people voting against everything, or 49 or 50% or whatever it is, because they keep splitting the numbers, have to do without. It's
Right.
right. And to me, the loss, it'll only become worse because the word's already out there. That's why we have all these, if you'll notice, we have probably quadrupled the number of out-of-state cars that are here. And so I've talked to some of these people. I say, well, did you just move here? Yeah, we just moved here, and it's, yeah, we thought we'd come here. And I said, well, where are you working? Oh, we don't have a job yet. Okay, so are you on the
We're here
unreported?
to rob and pillage you.
It's like, so is it burglary and theft? How are you going to support yourself if you're here?
Oh my God.
This is just like a Roy Lindsay story. Why, I talked with people and they confessed that they were here and they don't have a job. And I talked to them and I tried to talk some sense into them and they said, we don't have a job. Gee, I'm wondering if they were here just to rob everybody. Sure,
Yeah.
Cheryl, you've really done some scholarly study on this. What a liar.
I'm not buying it. Listen, if her friends who are leaving the county are so educated, perhaps maybe they should consult the actual statistics instead of buying into the people's scare stories about how lawless and dangerous it is to live in Josephine County.
How hard was it to go find those statistics? The people who were paying nearly $100,000 a year in that room while I was sitting there, there was almost $500,000 worth of salaries in that room. Who actually went and got the numbers? Some volunteer guy. Same kind of thing that happened with the folks that looked into the water. Same kind of thing went into the deal where we're saying, don't do this. When we talk with the city council saying, don't pass this sales tax. All these are volunteers. Oh, they're just the noise that destroys. We're doing it for free. You're paid to do this, and you're telling us these lies? You're making up stories because they're not happy with the voting process in America. And as Keith X said, well, I don't want to say the Pledge of Allegiance back here. It's repetitive. You know what? Get out.